Welcome to episode 3 of Young Strength, a Zoom series aimed at connecting young strength coaches and talking about key perspectives as well as training concepts within our profession. I'm your host, Lockie, and today I have probably one of my USA day ones, Josie Boucher. How are you feeling?
I'm doing great, Lucky. How are you?
I'm well. It's early morning here in Australia, but we're rolling on. I think as I said to you before the recording started, I've got my Bang Energy in my coffee cup. Even though I look very professional, standing here, drinking my coffee, which is not coffee.
Absolutely.
As always, we like to get our guests to kind of do a little brief introduction of themselves. So how about you fire away there?
So I've been in the strength and conditioning world for about 4 years now. I started at the high school level when I was in college, coaching football off season in the summer. And then I moved up to coaching at the collegiate level with UT Athletic Performance last spring. And now I'm at A&M as a program aide. So I'm a part-time intern here, and I work with all of the sports except for football and basketball.
And I guess the first question I always aim to ask our guests is the why. Why did you get into the profession?
This is kind of, it's a big question, right? And we all do a lot of thought work on, why we're here and how we spend our time. For me, I was an athlete my whole life, and I always felt a lot more confident and competent in all of our training spaces as opposed to our sport spaces. And so for me, like, the competition and just like learning how to move in my own body was something that I just fell more in love with than any actual particular sport. The competition is what I love, and being able to do that in myself and then with people around me in the weight room and on the field, that was a lot more intriguing to me. And then, just realizing how much there is to learn and how much there is to share. And so becoming kind of a middle person for that transition to happen, gaining information and then sharing that information is something that I love to do. I come from a long line of teachers, and coaching to me is teaching. So that's, it really just felt right.
In terms of being essentially that teacher with athletes, do you feel that you have a certain mindset or attitude that you try and instill or follow when you are coaching?
Generally speaking, just in my life, I try and have, a growth mindset. A lot of words came to me when you said this question. So just like being open and adaptable, really just trying to stay curious in all things is how I try and approach things. Always continuing to dig deeper and figuring out where things are coming from and where we can be going. Almost being a devil's advocate in my own head. So there's really not a perfect way to do anything, and just being as open as I can be to learning and being the best.
I think this is obviously the probably the core question that I generally try and ask a lot of the young strength coaches here is how important do you feel our role is in terms of the success of an individual athlete or a team?
From a logical standpoint, our role is important just in building a foundation of movement competency and strength and power, and really getting the athletes to understand like what they can do with their bodies and how much they can handle, and kind of building that capacity is incredibly important. I think that you could probably get into lots of arguments about whether it's totally necessary for like skill development. If an athlete can play, they can play, and that's not really what we're here for. But building that capacity, I think, is the biggest part of our job that's the most important. And I also think that in the spaces that we train athletes in, we can mimic a lot of the mental roadblocks that they face when it comes to decision making and being a leader and learning how to follow and when to do what. We can really talk through a lot of that. So building that mentality, I think, is a big part of our job, even if it's super small and it's not always explicit that that's what we're doing. So I think that's really important.
Oh, definitely. And I think you've kind of hit that nail on the head. I know as of late, there's kind of been that talk about like sports specificity. And I think sometimes people just look at the training side of that and kind of forget that there is an attitude and a mindset that can actually kind of be trained in the weight room to mimic on the field. So I think that's a great point. Um, Obviously, this is sort of why we want to talk today. How do you feel as a young strength coach? Do you feel like you have succeeded or integrated well within essentially a male-dominated field?
This question is complicated. There's lots of different levels to it. I think being a young coach is right now it's really exciting. There's the field has never been bigger. There's never been like more information that could be shared and spread. So I think it's really a great time to be getting into the field for any person. And I think that, you know, the professionals that understand and really fill the role of what we do in like a really deeply personal way, like they want us to grow and succeed, and they want to further the field in and make it the best that it can be. We all kind of share that vision. So when it comes to being a female in the field, it's really like surrounding myself with people that are here for the success of the career and for the field and for our athletes. And it's not really about who I like, what I am, or like where I came from. All of those things affect us for sure. And there are real consequences to all of the stereotypes and all of the images and the way that people talk about being a woman in sports. But at the end of the day, like I've had to really do a lot of work on my own to realize that it's not about these labels. It's about who I am and the way that I connect with the people that I'm interacting with all the time. And that's what's really going to make me the best I can be, and also provide the best, service to all the people that I'm around.
Do you feel that the presence of the female strength coach is growing?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it went from nobody really ever talking about it or acknowledging that women could actually even play sports to begin with, let alone coach sports. And now we're at this time, in society where people are really just exploring whatever the heck they want to explore, and they're working really hard to be in the spaces that they're in. And more people are just, they agree with what I just said. It's not about whether you're a guy or a girl or whatever you identify as. Like it's about who you are and what you bring to the table. And I think that mindset has been growing exponentially and allowed so many more people to be in the field in sports at large too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think obviously we were really lucky at UT to have such a diverse, not just coaching department in terms of ethnicity, gender. You
Yeah.
just saw there was such a mixed bag, and it was more about being unified under that common goal rather than anything else. And I think that's sort of what you're sort of leading toward. And um, I mean, obviously looking at the perspective of a young professional like ourselves, do you feel that there's more we can do, or more that we can kind of focus toward, especially going forward, leading into the later years of our tenure?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that as our as a whole, I think people in our profession really believe that there's always more that we can do. There's always some level of dissatisfaction, which is why we continue to research and to learn and to grow and to teach. And so I think in terms of creating more opportunities for more people, it's really about doing things like this when, you're making space for people to share their experiences. And it's, respecting what's being shared, and it's amplifying what's being shared. It's about the idea just generally that your experience might not be completely representative of everybody else's experiences, in even though we have the same profession, and really just allowing everybody to bring whatever they're coming with to and be in that space together. So yeah, it's I think it's an individual choice on that front, making space for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a day one sort of thing, isn't it? You want to walk into a place and know that no matter who's XYZ, whatever their past is, whatever their goals are, whatever you do, as soon as you walk into that facility, that college, that team, that you're all going for the same goal. And I think
Exactly.
it's paramount, isn't it? Dialing it back to you, in terms of you've been really lucky now. You've obviously been at UT, you're now at Texas A&M. Who would you say has been a standout in terms of mentorship, or someone that's really paved the way for you?
This is a very hard question because I have been incredibly lucky with the staff that I've been around. Um, like I said, I started in the high school field, and so my very first mentor, Mac Acuna, was a big influence on me because I was the only female on staff at the time, and I was very young. I was still in college, and he really allowed me to grow and support me, and he was in my corner from day one. So that kind of set my expectations for who I knew I needed to be around going forward. But then more recently, I think that at Texas, Coach Clint Martin really connected with me. You know, he's a hard person to gain trust and respect from because his standards are so high. And that is, I think, what more people need. You know, not that, I mean, openness and friendliness and all of those things are incredibly important, but I also think that understanding that, you know, this is a really hard space to be in, and it's incredibly competitive, and it's, you know, we want to fill it with the best people that we can. And I think that Clint Martin really does a great job at making space for you to show who you are, and then he's just there for you, you know, from that day forward. So he's just always been in my corner, and we've always connected really well. And I know I can call him right now, and he'd be, you know, ready and willing to help. So.
And it's funny you say that. We seem to get a bit of a trend of Clint Martin on this series. You know, I was really lucky to work under him as well, and um, Clint's someone that my dad had a great saying before he passed. There's three types of people in this world. There's good people, bad people, and nice people. And nice people are the worst. I think Clint is the epitome of a good man. You know, he really challenges you in the right way. He wants to know, this is what you want to do. You want to be a strength coach? Well, you've got to handle this. And he'll throw that at you regardless of whether you're ready for it or not. And I think that there's a massive level of respect there. And like you said, he doesn't give his trust away straight away. You've got to earn it. And I think it's as daunting as it is, it was something that I think we're both pretty grateful for.
Absolutely.
Um, and in terms of obviously from high school to now, where do you feel that you've grown in the profession over the last few years?
I mean, I only really started in the field in, I think, 2018, 2019. So I've, you know, only been around for a short, you know, 3 or 4 years. And it's been nothing but growth for me. So in terms of like my capacity as a coach has expanded greatly. So just, you know, and that goes hand in hand with the work that I do on my own, you know, and just in my own life, trying to become the best person that I can to handle all of the things that life throw at you. And same thing in coaching. So really, I think my communication has exponentially become a lot more efficient. It's become more intentional, more thoughtful. The way that I coach on the floor, I think I have worked really hard about, you know, making a presence and making that presence approachable, but also, you know, we're here to work and really getting things done. And so, and just generally like my critical thinking skills have gotten exponentially better, and being able to articulate more things when it comes to research and sports science and things like that. I've just really been trying to work on being the most well-rounded coach I can be. So that's really, you know, I think it's been nothing but growth. So.
Yeah, especially in our field, I think there's always something, isn't there? There's always
Yeah,
that next bit.
exactly. Yes.
2023. Obviously, we've just started the year. What are some of your goals? What's the aim?
Yeah, so I actually have the privilege of running my own team this semester at A&M. There, I'm getting to run the dance teams training. So I'm really, you know, that's the first time I've had a collegiate team to supervise. So I'm really excited about that, and really trying to do as much as I can with them and build a really strong foundation for their program is something that I'm working really hard at. You know, also along with, you know, the communication and growing that side of me as a professional, I really want to learn and continue to get better at connecting with more people in the field. So that's a big goal of mine this year, is just really putting myself in uncomfortable positions that are probably going to benefit me in the moment and down the line. And then really just dialing in on my foundational understanding of human movement and biomechanics and anatomy, and really making sure that that's all squared away so that going into graduate school, which is a goal for the fall of this year, and moving forward, I have a really solid foundation.
All right. Now the fun part. All the serious questions are over. We'll go into our quick rapid fire. Um, Hopefully people start to notice there's a bit of a trend of I try and get to know my people and ask some very specific questions.
Yeah.
Question number one, tattoos or piercings?
Tattoos. It's
Tattoos.
between, yeah.
Do you have because you've got a couple of tattoos, a bit like myself. What's your favorite one, would you say?
I have some trees on my ankle, on my calf, and I really love those. I got those to kind of remind me that growing is good and staying grounded is also good, and you kind of have to do both in order to keep getting, bigger and more successful and take on more. So that's always a great reminder for me. I love to have kind of deep, cheesy meanings, if you will, behind all of my pieces. So
Yeah, you definitely don't want to have any tramp stamps or anything, do you?
no, not really.
Not in a collegiate weight room where athletes ask
Oh,
too many questions.
do. They always are very curious.
Next question. I think this is going to be the hardest one of the rapid fire. Cats or dogs?
Oh, I know, right? So hard. I'm gonna have to go with dogs.
Yeah. How many dogs do
Have
you
a
have at the
dog.
moment?
I have one dog, and I have some conditions before I get another one because they just need a yard
Ah,
together. So, but yeah,
very good. Um, Obviously spent a fair bit of time. I mean, you are an Austinite. Favorite food in Austin?
that's really hard. It's either got to be Tex-Mex or burgers. There
Oh,
used to be a really great burger place downtown called Huts, and it was like a really small mom and pop thing, and they had the best onion rings, the best burger. So yeah, it's hard to choose.
yeah. Oh, that is a tough one. How about down in College Station?
Um, a little less difficult to choose. There's not as much variety down in College Station. But I will say probably anything that reminds me of home. Not that I'm super far away, but I don't have my people right near me. So anything that I would eat with my family that I can find here, I'm trying to get my hands on.
And last one, the one place in the world you'd want to visit.
A very hard question also. There's so many places. I think off the top of my head, probably Iceland. I've always
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
go to Iceland and see the terrain and the environment up there. It looks beautiful. So
Yeah. Oh, it looks like there's no place like it. Hey.
exactly.
Yeah. Ah, fantastic. Well, Josie, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to obviously come and chat with me. I know it's obviously a bit of a busy schedule. You're getting sort of back into the swing of things with teams. And yeah, I think what we might even do is we'll probably put in the description, obviously, ways to connect with you for other young coaches. And yeah,